Friends, do you realize it's only taken 320 shows, because I think on my 20th show, I forgot to press record button with Frank Murgy. Frank, if you're out there, remember that?
We just proved that you're human, right? You're human.
I am very human.
Hey, just if it's any consolation, if we would have done the whole thing, I would have done it all over again. I would have done
Much
it again.
obliged, but no, I wouldn't put you through that agony. You need a 30-second tour, Jeff.
Yeah, so I appreciate the question, and it's, I used to hide the story, and I was Mr. Fake It Till You Make It, and
That was a thing.
oh my gosh, just ashamed of my background, ashamed of where I came from. I wanted people to think I was something maybe that I wasn't. Imposter syndrome, the whole thing. And the nickel tour is, I grew up in Washington County, rural Washington County here in the Pittsburgh area. Grew up in poverty. Had two parents that were very, very sick. Never worked a day in my life. My mom was diagnosed with lupus when she was 10. My dad battled chronic osteoarthritis as a juvenile. How these two met is beyond me. But like misery loves company, right? Good people. Mm-hmm. Love my parents. But it was rough, so we were a product of the system. And it was hard. It was really, really hard, because not only are you poor, but you're literally watching your parents erode in front of you. And, that led to a lot of bad decisions. It led to a lot of desperation. Mm-hmm. And desperation can take you down some dark alleys.
Certainly.
And as I have an older brother, you have two teenage boys that basically have all the freedom you could ever want. There were times that there were weeks on end, Eric, that my parents were in the hospital simultaneously. So think frat house 10X, like that's what was going on. And that led to bad decisions, and that led to, I'm not here to tell you like I was some mafia gangster, but I wasn't friendly with the law, right? Here's what I did know.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, right.
I can use that.
yeah, right. Well, I'm not going to incriminate myself here publicly, right? I knew what I didn't want in life, and I felt all this pressure caving in on me, and here I was thinking, like, I'm going to get into a steel mill, I'm going to get into a coal mine, we're going to make a run at this, and I'm going to make it my mission in life that my mom and dad never have to cut a pill in half again to make ends meet. The utility company's never going to show up again and shut off our gas or electric. These are my missions in life, but I didn't know how to bridge the gap. And environment's everything. We talked offline about this a little bit, who you surround yourself with. I just knew like the environment I was in, the people I was hanging out with, they weren't going to get me there, but I didn't know what was. So I joined the military, and here I am on my first commercial flight. I had never left the tri-state area in my life, and I'm in Fort Jackson, South Carolina. I'm an Army soldier. And I transitioned from the military. I'm going to be the first to get a college degree. I'm 2 weeks out from starting at Cal U. I get the call that I had gotten many times in my life from my dad, which was they're sending mom home in hospice. The catch this time was my dad had to have his first leg amputated because there was infection running through his body. And he said, I hate to ask you to put college on the back burner, but I need you to come home and help with mom. So I did what you would do and anybody listening would do. I put college on the back burner. I go home. I'm starting to take care of business. I didn't want to be a burden.
Right.
So I went and got a local newspaper. I had one skill. I was a hard-working country boy. Mm-hmm. So I just found a job that really I thought nobody else would want. And I put an application in to be a fill-in truck driver at Cintas Corporation. That was September of 96. Never went to college. Stayed there for 25 years. Started a podcast, which launched me into a business, and now I do business consulting and specialize in leadership and sales development. So that's the Nickel Tour.
Yeah, see, I love that story. I mean, we are now like kindred spirits, pal.
Yeah.
Didn't graduate high school, and somehow we made something of our pitiful lives.
Anything's possible.
Anything's possible. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So let's unwind that a little bit. So you worked at Cintas for a long period of time, mm-hmm. and you basically started, I don't like to use the bottom up thing, but you basically started an entry level position and worked your way up.
Oh yeah.
And Do you think that concept is still being sold today to younger people, to I don't know, to college graduates, or do you think we've somehow we've given the illusion that time should be compressed and you're going to accelerate your life in a faster way? Do you think that's kind of what's being put out there?
I do. I think it is situational, because I think a lot of who we become is what starts at the house. Now, it's not always a guarantee, but that's where the greatest leaders are created, is at the dinner table, right? So I think that's a big factor.
Okay.
I would say, to generalize this statement, I would tell you that everything is accelerated. Everybody wants it, the instant gratification. Everybody wants to graduate college and make $100,000 a year, and they deserve it, by the way. Now, I'm not going to say everybody, because I've met some amazing young people that are ready to roll their sleeves up and grind and go.
For sure.
So I'm not hating on a generation. But I will say that, whether you're 22 or 52, there is this mentality shift of, I'm not willing to climb up the hill to see the view. Like, just drop me there. But we know that the journey to success is all uphill. And it was no different for me. I didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't know anything other than get in, work hard, and over-deliver. That's all I knew. But I didn't know leadership. I didn't know sales. I didn't know any of it. I just showed up and worked hard, and I had a lot driving me to win. Mm-hmm. I wasn't running to something. I was running from something. That's a different pace. That's a different run, right? I'm running from where I came from and engaging my motivation. It's that same kind of motivation that a mom can lift a car off of her child. It's that inhumane, possessed, probably isn't the right word, but I would rather die than lose.
Yeah.
And that's the stuff. You can't teach that stuff.
Almost like a single focus.
It really is. It's and it can be harmful, because it can become toxic to your relationships and all the stuff that goes with that. So, and you got to be careful.
Isn't that almost, boy, this is a good question for a guy like you. That single-minded obsession, I've heard touted as almost a requirement for entrepreneurship.
I think there has to be a piece of it. This is one guy's opinion. And it's almost, I wouldn't say I'm as excessive as an Elon Musk, or, I mean, you can go down the list, Bill Gates, whatever. You talk to their significant people close in their circle, and it's like, you got to really know how they are wired and how they tick. Like, if I wouldn't have married the woman that I married, shout out to my wife, today's 26 years.
Congratulations.
There you go.
It's impressive.
I don't know. Like, she was built for me. She gets me. And we've been on the journey together. Like, we got together when I was poor. So I think you got to build that along the way, because there is a wiring that I think there's a gear that you do have to find to reach certain levels of success. Now, luck is always an option. It's just not a great strategy. It's always out there. And I think we do see those instant successes sometimes, and we're like, that's going to be my plan. It's so rare. And you got to be willing to roll the sleeves up and go. But you got to guard that obsession a little bit too, because if not, you have children that don't know their dad. You have a wife that has an absentee husband, and vice versa. This isn't a gender thing. Yeah. So I think you got to guard some of that and prioritize what is most important and find balance.
Yeah, I can tell you from personal experience, single-minded obsession when it comes to entrepreneurship or business can absolutely destroy a family. There's
for sure,
no doubt about that.
Yes.
Yeah, it's when an entrepreneur has the bug, right? Because I can only speak from experience of getting like this idea, and then it consumes you, right? Which is very, I think, prevalent with a lot of entrepreneurs. The idea of, I can do something unique and build a life for me and my family. How does someone throw moderation on there? Like, are there techniques to moderate obsession? I mean, really, because that seems to be, it's almost an impossibility.
Yeah.
Because all the good things that obsession can bring in terms of drive and creativity, you also still have to live.
You do.
Yeah.
I would say I'm better at it now than I've ever been. But early on, I was horrible. I mean, horrible. And I think it is situational. And I'm not saying that my way was the right way. As a matter of fact, I kind of teach against it at times. But there are still people that way is necessary. I mean, when your life's possessions you can carry somewhere in a bag, and you have this unbelievable desire to accomplish something that you're not even sure how it's possible, there's something you got to give up. And for me, Eric, I was willing to fall on the sword so that my kids and my grandkids would never even know the life that I had. And this isn't poor Jeff, oh my gosh, he had it so hard. No, I made it my mission in life that if I'm going to change a generation in my family, somebody's got to pay the price. And I was just willing to do whatever that meant. And that meant, probably not doing it the right way all the time, and not being present all the time and doing the hard things. And I'm not recommending that for everybody, because it can be devastating, to your point. So I think you got to know your surroundings. You got to know the surroundings of your people, the people you care about. You got to know their love language. Thankfully, I had a wife that was like, I'm all in. I get it. Let's do this. I'm with you. But if I wouldn't have had that, I would have either been divorced with a broken home, or we would have been miserable.
Yeah.
We were on the same page, so that helped.
Yeah, no doubt about that. That's all. It's one of the variables when you speak to someone starting an entrepreneurship journey. It's your influences, your family influences. Are they going to be in the way? How do you view them? Is your partner, if you have a partner at that time, are they on board? There's a lot of. And I think that because there are so many considerations, I think that is looked at sometimes as an obstacle to people.
Sure, it can. And this is that whole balance thing. Because, as I'm sitting here speaking, I'm thinking there's people listening right now that think I'm a monster. But the reality is I love my family. And I'm justifying in my mind that this is why I'm doing it. Like, who in their right mind wants to work 16, 18 hours or, spend the night in the office to get the thing done or what? And these are things I've done. Mm-hmm. Is it because I don't want to hold my baby? Is it because I don't want to be at the dinner table? No, it's not that at all. And it wasn't that excessive to where it's like I was never around. Like, I was very present. But here's what I had to learn early as a young professional. I would be at work on the grind, and I would find myself all of a sudden just getting welled up with resentment and anger, thinking about, I need to get home and throw ball with my son. Mm-hmm. And I would start resenting the success. But then I would be at home throwing ball with my son, and I would be saying, I could be using this time to make another proposal or craft a presentation, or I'm missing ground. Other people are having fun. This is when I could be outdoing them and beating the competition. And it was this constant mind numbing, where do I belong? And what I've come to the conclusion is that there's not a right or wrong, but wherever you are, be there. Like, be in that moment. Mm-hmm. If you're grinding 18 hours, go all in. But when you get home, be all in. And that was, if there is a secret sauce, that was what I found. Was like, if I'm at that ball game, I'm going to have a painted chest. I'm going to be screaming your name. I'm going to be loving on you. And I'm not going to worry about the numbers and the reports and the income statement and all the stuff.
Yeah.
But get me in the boardroom, and it's game on.
Yeah, Jim Rohn, the business philosopher, had a mantra that resonated with me early on. And at the time, I didn't have a family, so it probably didn't resonate with me as much. But it was, wherever you are, be there. When you work, work. When you play, play. Don't mix the two.
That's it.
And as I got older in life and I would go back to that phrase, it made more sense as my life got more complex.
Sure.
The relationships of my life got more complex.
Sure. It's so true. Resentment will set in if you don't do that well. And I was just with a group of executives not too long ago when we were talking about burnout and all of these things. Like, these are real things, and they can take you out of the game. Resentment, it can take you out of the game. And you got to be very careful with that. Unfortunately, sometimes we learn these by touching the stove. And it's like, man, that hurt. What do I do? I had some amazing mentors that they could see around the bend in the road. Mm-hmm. Like, they've been there. And that's my best advice to anybody that is running after the impossible, which is what I felt like. Find people that have been where you want to go. Because they have a lot, they can ease the pain. They're not going to eliminate it because, again, success is uphill. Mm-hmm. But they can give you some things that can help you do that. And these are the intangibles. Like, there's not a college course that you're going to go to. There's not a workshop that you're going to go to that's going to perfectly outline the formula for work-life balance. It just doesn't exist. So you learn from experience and this emotional intelligence, if you will, how to navigate some of this. Because there's really not a formula. It's very situational.
Oh, no question. You were talking about mentors, and I am the biggest proponent of those. And the reason I am is because at the infancy of my guitar years, it was done at the beginning of the internet, and there wasn't an example of a successful business doing what I was trying to do. And it was hard.
Yes.
It was, there was initial success because of the first mover advantage, but when it got competitive, I didn't have that more experienced business person to look to and say, hey, I'm having trouble here. What did you do? And I know it's not popular to take mentors in certain circles because of the amount of arrogance we run around with today that we don't need mentors. I tell anyone, if a mentor is available to you, and if they are kind enough to offer, their ear and their advice, you would be foolish not to at least initially throw your ear in there. Listen.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. It's the single thing that if I were forced to give one piece of advice, that's it. It's why I'm so passionate about leadership, because I don't think do leaders drive business and all this? Yeah, they do. But leaders are about people. And, had I not had leaders early on that looked past where I came from, that saw something inside, here I am showing up for my first white-collar job. The tie's wrong. I don't know what a collar stay is. It's like blowing in the wind type stuff, right? I don't know how to dress. I don't know none of this. And I had leaders that would come in and be so graceful and not humiliate me and teach me not only the business side of it, but the professional side of it, how to show up, how to communicate, how to arrive. I didn't have that teaching growing up. You talk about, like, if your dad's a carpenter, you're going to be a carpenter. If your dad's a farmer, you're going to be a farmer. There's reasons this happens because that's how you're influenced. But I'm a clean slate. I'm like, I don't know. And I think back to the leaders that truly made who I was. This isn't, I would love to broadcast, well, it all happened because I'm awesome. No, it's the farthest thing from the story. I was the farthest thing from awesome. I'm the farthest thing from a high IQ. But success does leave a trail. And if there's a trick, the trick was I got around people that knew, that got it, that had been there before. And I listened, and I engaged, and I executed. Because knowledge is not the problem. We got this show. We got 1,000 shows. We got workshops. We got YouTube. Knowledge is not the problem. It's the execution. So you get that mentor, not only listen, but just do what they say. And I was blind. If Joe would have told me, go out in the middle of the road, take 5 steps backwards, drop your pants, take a dump in the road, I wouldn't even have questioned it. Like, done. consider it done, because I just trusted and believed their level of aptitude so much. I knew it would work.
And it's interesting because you, as the student in that circumstance, had to have the desire and had to have the passion and, quite frankly, the burning, I guess you could say, desire to be something that you're not. And you have a vision of where you want to go. And conversely, the person you're looking to for advice or mentorship or even your superior, if you, in the rare instance where you find one that has the ability to see your potential and your future, if you can get those two married up, and it sounds like in this instance, at your launch point, that's what was happening, right?
Yes.
That's fucking magic.
It is unbelievable. I remember my first sales manager, because I'm coming from blue collar. I'm just working hard. I worked hard enough to build a reputation, but then I get into sales thinking my charm and charisma would just fix all the problems, right? And I sucked at it. And I mean, sucked. Like, not hitting the numbers. I might be on a performance plan. I might be going back on the truck, getting kicked out of sales calls because I sucked so bad. I could tell my manager was frustrated, but he would take me into that conference room every Wednesday. He would stay, sacrifice his own family time and role play with me. And I worked hard and I practiced it and I make the flashcards. And I remember one time he said to me, I asked him this question. I said, Sean, what do you think what's the missing piece? What do I need to do to win? Is there an exact formula? Now, I didn't learn that this was sarcastic till later. He said, if you do 125 door knocks a week, I think you might have a shot. And in my mind, I'm saying, why are you waiting till now to tell me this? Meanwhile, he's being sarcastic. So away I went and just started grinding through it. But it was that effort, which we talked about, like you can't teach desire or effort. I was willing to knock on 125 doors a week. And he was willing to stay every Wednesday and build my craft. And somewhere along the line, something happened to where effort met skill. And that's when the beauty started to happen. But if it wasn't for him, the effort alone wouldn't have been enough.
Yeah, you almost have to have, it's funny you said that, because like, I tell people I've been fortunate and I've received a lot of luck in my life, and I believe that. But if I unwind it, it's like other journeys of other people I've seen, luck is kind of the result of positioning, right?
No doubt.
You put yourself in the position to enjoy the potential benefit of any luck that comes your way.
Yeah. I would say almost to the point that I don't get offended easily. I mean, I've heard it all, seen it all. I've been called every name that you could be called. But there's one thing that will get me a little bit agitated, is when somebody tells me that I'm lucky. And I mean, look, I believe, to your point, like there are situations that things fall your way. But most success is not a product of luck. We like to call it luck because we're not willing to do what it takes to get there. And this isn't a condemnation on anybody.
We like to call other people's circumstances luck.
100%.
Yeah.
It's
not
like
ours, but other people's for sure.
Totally. Because success does leave a trail. Like the flashcards, the sitting in front of the camcorder back in the day, watching my presentation and presenting to myself in the mirror and all the things that you do. But the desire was rooted in, I needed to lift the car off the kid. Like, this has to happen. Like, there's no going back. If it's not me, who will it be? Because I knew I wanted to have a family. I knew I wanted to have children. And I knew if my son ever decided that he was going to play basketball, he would be on the hardwood with some Air Jordans. Like, that was happening.
Yeah, motivation. There's got to be little tells in your life where you can use that as a drive factor, right?
No doubt.
Do you remember the moment that you felt like you figured it out, like the light bulb just kind of like, like, was it a moment in early sales? Was it a moment with a client, with your superior? Was it a moment alone driving to an appointment? Was there a moment where you like, where you that day you earned your wings or got your sea legs, so to speak? Do you remember that?
Man, I would love to tell you that there was an epiphany that happened, but I still feel like I haven't figured it out. And I have overcome imposter syndrome. But Eric, it's something that has challenged me most of my adult life.
Just talk about that for a while. That's a very misunderstood term.
It is. It's this feeling of I'm not good enough. If they find me out, if they really knew where I came from, this success is fleeting. It's probably not going to last. You know, this negativity that you draw up in your mind. Because I was used to setbacks, and I was used to when things would go well, it's not going to last. Mom's going to end up in the hospital. There's going to be another surgery. We're going to get kicked out of our apartment. You know, we're going to change school districts again. I just made a bunch of new friends. So you're saying it wasn't even a what if. It was in your mind. It was going to happen. It's happening. It's going to happen. This is coming to an end. Yeah. You know, you make a president's club. That was luck. That's never going to happen again. Then you make another one. Then you hit 7 in a row, and you're still saying they're probably never going to make that again. Yeah, it's a mental wiring issue. It's a mental wiring. Yeah. And it took me a lot of mentoring and a lot of inner focus to really start to push through that. And I will tell you, one of the biggest things that helped me through that was serving other people. When I started to realize that there actually was something here that I could pay it forward, it started to fulfill me. And then I felt compelled then. And I started to get this level of confidence, like this isn't about me and the mission anymore. The mission had changed. The mission had become, now I get to serve other people, because I'm crazy enough to think that through my office one day, another Jeff Hancher is going to show up, and I want to find him. And I'm going all in. And that's what led me to quitting my corporate career. Because I want to spend, with whatever breath I have left, I will spend the rest of my life serving people to help them get to where they want to go too. I don't have all the answers, but whatever I have, I'm going all in on it. Well, isn't that kind of the root of success in general? If you help enough people get what they want, you can have everything. I mean, that's a quote that's been around forever, but isn't that kind of it? Like, I remember sending a guitar out to a customer early on, and just the guy was so happy. He kept saying, "Oh, your service, and I'm not used to this and this and that, and the case is great, and you gave me a t-shirt," and all this stuff. And I remember having that epiphany going, wow, that's like, I'm really making this person happy with a purchase that's not vital to their life. It's a luxury purchase, but their feeling of the experience was second to none. And in my weird thinking, it was like, well, I'm serving a need this guy has. And if I could do that with enough people and concentrate on getting into their experience, then all the good stuff will just follow along. And that's kind of what happened. And it's sustainable. It is sustainable. And that's the thing. Like, success and excellence, the differentiator is methods and character. Like, those are the two that you can't be without, because you can have success without methods, but they're not sustainable. You won't sustain it without methodology, and methodology won't be sustained without character. Because character is the glue that holds it all. But to close the question, I don't know if I ever had the epiphany. I do think I got to a place that I felt like I have something to offer, which is why I went into leadership and stopped being an individual contributor, because I wanted to serve that way. It's why the podcast launched. It's why the company launched. I did get to a place that I felt like I had something to give back. That epiphany did happen. And whether you want to call it a calling or, you know, the old saying, there's the two most important days, the day you're born, the day you realize what you're meant to do. You're willing to give up a lot when that hits you. But during my run in my corporate career, I had such a level of positive discontent, which I define as I can always get better. We're good. I can always get better. It's like Tom Brady heist up another Lombardi trophy, and the next day he's up watching tape, figuring out what could we have done better. Well, you just won the Super Bowl. Yeah, but we could have played a better game. And so I think there has to be this level of celebrate the wins, but have this spirit of positive discontent that says we haven't arrived and we can be better. It's possible to be better and find it. And that can be a tiring race because it's like, man, can we like have a cigar and celebrate for a minute? But you just keep running.
Yeah, that's a touchy subject in that you wonder like, well, let's talk about Brady for a second. None of us know because none of us know him, right? And we're just speculating. Mm-hmm. But it's almost sad in a way if you can't really enjoy to some degree. You would hope that the human who attains and achieves has the ability to understanding enough to enjoy the moment as well too. Because again, I can only talk about personal experience and sharing this with other people and getting feedback. And I've been told many times that during the guitar years for me, the successes we had, I really never took time to enjoy them. It was on to the next project. And I wish I would have been better at managing my emotions at that time, if that makes any sense. It's one of the, I have regrets. That's one of the regrets I have is I did not thoroughly enjoy the wins.
Mm-hmm. I'm with you, brother.
That's a regret.
I'm with you. And for me, I don't know your story behind it, and I'd love to hear it. But for me, it was like anything good was contradictory of success. Pain equals winning.
I was there.
And that's not true.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a level of it. Like, you have to sacrifice. Yeah. You got to be willing to take a couple jabs to get the counter, right?
For sure.
But I think I was there as well. I think joy and enjoyment are defined differently by everybody. For me, it was seeing my family thrive and maybe living vicariously through them even. And I'll give you a story that best exemplifies this. We end up getting, we build our dream home. We have property, we have woods, ATV trails. And I'm like, this is what I always dreamed of as a kid. And the other thing I always dreamed of as a kid was having a beautiful tree house. Because I would go like scrap wood this thing together, right? And so I get a contractor, the whole deal. And sometime I'll show you a picture of this thing. But this thing is like a penthouse in trees. And here I am like 3 months into this thing, Eric, and I'm furious. Like, why are the kids not in this tree house? Of which my wife so kindly said, they never asked for a tree house. So here I was thinking like you're doing all of these. So this whole joy, I think it plays out in different ways. And it has changed for me. Whether it's travel or I'm like you, things aren't my thing. Mm-hmm. I don't hate nice things.
Right.
But they're not my driver in any way, shape, or form. And I think joy
they were never the carrot for me.
No, not me either.
And the funny part was I was surrounded by, as a guitarist, I was surrounded by all these guitars that I would never purchase for myself. They were just, I wouldn't spend $10,000 on a guitar for myself, but I was surrounded by them. Mm-hmm. And the affinity to collect them, it just never...
It is.
It's weird.
It is.
It's weird what we feel attachment to and what we are drawn to.
Yeah.
Every human's different.
Yeah. Well, I think for me too, it was like the things... It was always like save your money for a rainy day. Now, I would have no problem going out and buying my wife a designer bag and, those kind of things. But imposter syndrome has a close brother called poverty mentality.
Right?
Okay. And,
right on.
It's like, you're looking at milk and you're like, is it cheaper to buy the half gallon or is it, and meanwhile, it's like you could buy the whole cooler of milk and you're dealing with this at the grocery store kind of thing. And so these are things like that I've had to, and I'm just being vulnerable, like there's an image there, but it's never the thing. Like I would buy my wife nice things, but when it came to me, it was like, I don't need that. I can just do this. But I did find great joy in doing it for my family.
Yeah, for sure.
But the sacrifices, it was like, well, I got to sacrifice if I want to keep moving forward.
So I was a little different. Like I felt I laugh about this now, but I never thought of taking chances as being anything as just standard operating procedure. I did not. I was almost weirdly immune to risk. I just didn't care. If the idea seems solid, I'm doing it. And if it doesn't work out, I'll just figure it out. Because up to that point, I kind of did that, right?
It's a gift.
I guess. It's reckless. And that's what I want to talk to you about. Like, what do you, in hindsight, I could have used a little more, a little more thought toward my decisions.
Strategy.
But, now, the good times were great, and the things that did work out were wonderful, but there could have been a little more strategy toward the end of the venture, so to speak. But isn't that interesting how that dynamic can work with an entrepreneur? Like, I was not adverse to risk. I was immune to risk almost. Like, it didn't bother me. And here you're talking about how you had more strategy in there. Talk about risk for a second in regards to entrepreneurship and what your experience has been and just that whole arena, because I think that is obviously one of the biggest fears people have even considering being an entrepreneur is their risk tolerance.
It's huge.
I don't even know what that means. I don't have any risk. I have no risk. I'm not averse to any kind of risk.
Right. But I mean, some people, it's like, and you hear the stories of, I'm willing to give it all up. I'm willing to give it all up to get this thing, but are they really? I mean, that's great. That's great for a social media bite, right? And by no means am I telling you that I was willing to give it all up, but based off what we've already talked about, I'm still carrying this little bit of imposter syndrome with me. I'm still carrying this little bit of poverty mentality and no reason to be at this point in my life. I'm 24 and a half years into a very successful career. I'm looking down the barrel of early to mid 50s retirement. The stock portfolio's there. It's all there. But this burning starts hitting my guts of it's almost as if this grace lifted and this isn't what I'm doing anymore. And this fulfillment of moving this other way. But here I am, I'm sitting there thinking, have you lost your mind? Like, why would you go do that into the unknown when you have all this already figured out and you're good at it? But then this side of my mind would be saying, well, do you want to be 85 years old, look back with, wealth and whatever the world defines as success, and look back and realize that you blew the biggest opportunity to serve people and what that could have looked like? Do you want that kind of regret? And this is battling me, Eric, literally for months. I'm getting close to making a decision that I think I'm going to leave my job. And I see what I'm leaving behind, unvested stock, the whole thing, right? And I'm at Atlanta Airport. We take off. We're not even at cruising altitude. We're probably at maybe 7,000 feet. And I start feeling grossly sick, like beyond what anything that bag could do that's in that pocket. And I start sweating profusely like I had just ran a half marathon. And I'm like, I have to get to the bathroom. So at 7,000 feet, I'm in the aisle, and they're screaming, get back to your seat. Well, the next thing I know, I'm waking up to sounds of, tell the pilot we need to land the plane.
Wow.
I'm in the middle of the aisle. I had had a seizure, passed out, and they got ice bags all over me. And I'm there, are you okay? And I'm saying, I feel amazing right now. I thought
you just let me go to the bathroom.
Yeah, like I was scared because I thought when it all happened, maybe like I crapped my pants or something. So I do a little reach around, like, no, we're good. But I'm like, I feel a relief. Like, I feel so much better. If somebody could just get me a water, like, don't land the plane, I'm good. So I end up, I go to the doctor, and they're like, listen, this is all stress.
Like an anxiety attack.
Yeah, the vagus nerve was just overtime. And they're like, but I will tell you this, whatever is going on, like, you need to figure it out and work through it. So literally within 5 days, I had the meeting with my boss, and I'm like, now keep this in mind. 2 months prior, we're having succession planning, and I'm being groomed for another big move. And I'm looking at all this, and I'm having this conversation, and literally I think my boss thought he was being punked. And December 13th of 2019, I made the leap, and I was scared to death. I would love to tell you the sweetheart story of there was no looking back, burn the ships. I mean, I was like white-knuckled the whole way. Like, am I letting my family down? Is this nuts? I had a kid going into college. Am I even going to be qualified for student loans? Like, I'm white knuckled the whole way. So I know about that kind of leap and that fear, and nobody was ever going to go hungry, or the government cheese was never coming back in the house, or none of that was happening. But I mean, you talk about pucker factor.
Yeah.
It was a real, very real.
And that's a thing. And it's, and I guess that's the great thing about entrepreneurship is there literally are very few rules, right? And then the bad thing about entrepreneurship is literally there's very few rules.
Yes, it's so true. And you know, now that I'm on the other side, not that I'm like, you know, I'm still on the journey, brother. Like, it's a real journey. But now that I'm on the other side of the decision, I do look back, because now one of the biggest questions that I get was, what was that experience like? Because a lot of people are thinking about it, maybe now more than ever post-COVID, like, what, you know, it's kind of sexy and cool to be an entrepreneur and you're your own boss, and, you know, you got all of these things and there are perks with it. But I will tell you what I have found that holds people back the most is procrastination or indecision. And it's like, you have some of the most amazing planners in the world. Like, they got blueprints, they got business mapping, they got investors, they got pages all over the studio and all over the boardroom of how it's going to work and when we're going to hire in the next 5 years, and they never execute. And, you know, we have all heard the saying that it's hard to steer a parked car. It's true. It's like, you might not know exactly how the car's going to go, but get the thing going, because you'll figure out how to bob and weave a little bit, because pain teaches you a lot.
Yeah, no doubt.
A lot.
Yeah,
and I've had plenty of it on this journey.
I don't think there's an entrepreneur, or very few entrepreneurs, that don't have a story of just everything, all the emotional gambits. They run the entire thing. Fear and trepidation. Let's make a right turn a little bit. Let's talk about not just mentors, but let's talk about your circle and how important it is. So I think it's very important for everyone, but uniquely important for entrepreneurs to get in front of the right type of mental folks on a regular basis, because I'm guessing their organic friend base is going to create a significant amount of negativity once they take that leap to entrepreneurship. That's my guess.
Yeah, and it might be the people closest to you too. And because it is kind of reckless if you think about it.
Love it.
So you do have the people closest to you saying, are you sure about this? Look,
that's kind. You're being kind about it.
What
are they really saying,
true.
Jeff?
And I've had
Are
this.
you out of your fucking mind?
Exactly. Yeah. Do you not love your children?
Right.
Like, what are you doing?
I heard it all.
Oh, yeah. But I've had this every level of success. Like, even when we went to build our home, you know, they come out of the woodwork and they kind of mask it in love, and they're like, hey, you know, are you sure you want to take on that kind of debt? Like, what if the economy crashes? You know, interest rates are at an all-time high. They're telling you all the reasons why you shouldn't fulfill your dream, right? Uh-huh. I just need one good reason why I should move forward. And I will tell you, back to the company you keep, I'm telling you, like, this will take you out if you don't get the right people around you. And I'm not talking about just surround yourself with a bunch of attaboys that tell you you're a rock star.
You don't want that.
No, like, leave that for your mama. Like, she's going to tell you you're amazing. Go get her when you need her. But you need people around you that are willing to give you the accountability, give you the tough love. And let me preface this next one that I think is critical. Have earned the right to speak into your life. They've earned the right emotionally. They've earned the right by the deposits that they've made, because I'm not going to allow you to take a withdrawal from me unless there's been a deposit. And these deposits, withdrawals, are huge in these inner circle relationships, and that they have something to offer. And I'll say this, I have people in my inner circle that have not had an ounce of business success, but their integrity is a 10. You know, how they love their wife is a 10. How they parent their children, it's a 10. Character, because character will take you out. You know, all of these things. Now, the soft skills, the business skills, the financial skills, the communication skills. Look, mentoring can do those things too, but be well-rounded, because we've seen the fall from grace so many times. finding success, sustaining success, the game's different. It's very different.
Oh,
it's why
yes.
lottery winners look no further than these statistics. They hit the lottery, and next thing you know, they're committing suicide, they're incarcerated, all of these things. So don't hate on the journey to the top, because it's in that journey that you're being groomed to hold the load.
No question.
Because it's not the load that'll take you out. It's how you carry the load
No
that
question.
will take you out.
And there's so much envy in our society. I honestly believe this today, that it infiltrates what could be great relationships or potential folks to bring in your circle. You need to be very discerning about who you let in. And if you're feeling envy from any of them, my opinion is you kindly move away.
Yeah. There doesn't have to be hate, right?
No.
But choose your circle wisely. I mean, you talked about Jim Rohn. He said it better than anybody. Show me your circle, and I'll show you your future.
I'll show you your bank account.
Yeah, it is true. And this envy thing, it's probably more prevalent now than ever, because we got everybody's highlight reel and all of this stuff. And it's not a gender thing at all. You got everybody in the room that wants to be the alpha and all of this stuff. And you have all this stuff going on, but here's what I'll tell you is this isn't everybody, but there's a lot of people. It's not that they don't want to see you do well. They want to see you do well. They don't want to see you do better than them. And that's where the envy chasm is. And
That's insane.
everybody, I think, has a bias towards this as well, which is why, like, whether it's a networking event or a mixer or whatever, everybody's a little bit on guard. Like, everybody's smiling big and doing what they need to do. But I'm trying to be on this mission of, I'm going to prove to you that I genuinely want to see you win.
Yeah.
Like, I think people they see better than they hear, because you can say a lot of things. But people see better than they hear. Like, what are we doing? I try to hold myself accountable to say, don't just tell people you want to see them win. Help them win. Help them win. Tell somebody about Eric's show. Bring him an amazing guest. I'm not going to walk out of this studio and say, Eric, wish you the best. I hope you win. Like, I'm going to try to find a way to make that happen. I want to see you win.
Yeah. And I think maybe it's a little more oversimplified at times, but we don't lead anymore in social circumstances with character. We lead with trepidation. We lead with envy oftentimes. We almost lead, I think, sometimes with a false perception of the person we're going to meet. Like, and it's almost like our second nature now. I don't know why that is, but that's what I feel.
Yeah. Well, I think everybody's on edge with the highlight reel that is Instagram and Facebook, and it's like...
Let's talk about that.
And that creates a lot of pressure on everybody.
Do you think, and this is, again, another right turn, but it will come back around again, I promise. Are we at the point now in 2023 where there really is the physical world here tonight, our physical presence, and there's the virtual reality? Are they now somewhat holding the same weight in society?
Unfortunately, I think they are, to some degree, which is why I think it's the human element and human connection is so important. But I mean, look no further than this AI. Like, what can be done? Like, I just saw this clip not too long ago where it was like a virtual kidnapping, where the phone rings, the mom answers the phone, and it's her daughter saying, I've been kidnapped. And they transposed this girl's voice. It wasn't even her daughter at all. And here this mom is freaking out, wiring money, all of this stuff. So you got this technology that's on the rise, and it's almost like, is what we're seeing even real? Right. I mean, filters are a minimum, the minimum that it gets.
That was the entry to it, right?
But I think it puts a lot of pressure on people too, to say, I got to keep up. I got to keep up. I gotta keep up with the Joneses. I need the next thing. I need the whatever it might be. But at some point, I do think, and I'm hopeful, Eric, that it's going to come full circle. And being minimal and being genuine is a new form of rebellion. It's like nobody's doing that anymore. Like, maybe
are we rejecting
this
commercialism? Maybe at some point.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, enough just becomes enough, and I don't know.
Yeah. I think authenticity at the heart of it, the people that are bold enough to do it, which is why success too is so important, because I do think when you have a level of success, you can reach a level of confidence, which does give you a platform. And when you get it back to character, you can help change the narrative a little bit. And that should motivate everybody, not to chase the next rollie. But it's like when I have a platform, I can then influence the narrative of what things should be.
Right.
And that should drive all of us.
You would think. You would think. And I always hope that at every generation they're smarter, more dynamic, making better decisions. And I honestly believe they have the capacity to do that. Each generation has the capacity. They also have the capacity to terrorize and terrify the generation before them. Yeah. That's just that's the American way. Yeah. But I have a lot of hope for the future too. I just feel that we have a cloudy existence because the physical world is now, I guess, in terms of weight, it's kind of like being challenged by the virtual world.
It really is.
And I'm afraid the virtual world eventually might take over. I mean, it cognitively, my brain says there's just no way. We're maneuvering in the real physical world. It'll always be the center of everything we do. I'm not really sure now.
It's wild. I mean, people are buying virtual art. Like they're never going to hang.
I'm going to buy a virtual sweater for my avatar.
Well, the metaverse.
Are you shitting me?
People are buying real estate in here. Like,
not interested, man.
I'm out. Call me old school.
Yeah,
call me. I haven't caught the curve. Maybe
I can't
go there. I'm not there. Maybe I will be. I'm not today. I'm just not.
But in terms of leadership, so you train leaders. You help develop leaders. Leadership in terms of corporate America, which I know is corporate's only part of what you're doing, but in corporate America, leadership now is leading people who have this duality. They have like their work environment that they're doing, but they have this other like reality in their life, this virtual reality, which I'd imagine has to tug on. We only have so much brain capacity, right? Attention capacity. Are we really in a position now where are we struggling to give both realities the time that they probably deserve? And are we suffering for it?
I think we are. I think leaders in general, business.
How do you lead somebody? Their mind's not all there.
It's a huge factor. And I would tell you what's happening, especially in the entrepreneurial space, is you find people working in the business more than on the business. Because things are happening so fast.
Like, what do you mean? Help me understand that.
So I'm working in the business. I'm actually doing the work. I'm leading. I'm selling. I'm accounting. I'm innovating. I'm all of these things. But I'm not visionary. I'm not forward thinking. I'm not sitting down and doing a SWOT analysis, or I'm not sitting down and innovating. I'm not taking time to anticipate what's ahead.
Yeah.
And that's the risk.
We used to call that forecasting.
Yeah, thinking, right? And because it's so fast paced. Things are so fast, and so many times it's like with technology, whatever it might be, there's this pressure now. Like I remember when LinkedIn came on the scene, and when it did, it was this recruiting tool.
That's all it was.
That's it. And now I feel like leaders they have this pressure to post and do branding, and
I hate it.
And I'm for branding, but it's like at some point, and I tell people this with networking and B&I groups, and I'm not hating on B&I, but at some point you got to ask yourself, who's running the company? Who's running the business? And
great point.
Leaders are tasked with.
It's a great point.
So much responsibility today. They're dealing with emotional people. They're dealing with well-being. They're dealing with social injustice. They're dealing with unrealistic expectations with forecasting. They're dealing with all of this stuff. And so many leaders are just tapping out.
Right.
And saying it's not worth it. And the risk that we run with this, in my opinion, Eric, is we're going to lose people. Because at the heart of every great leader is not just net income. and key performance indicators. It's saying at some point I'm going to become a level 4 leader, and I'm not just going to teach what I know, but I'm going to reproduce who I am.
Absolutely.
And that's the battle cry, is to get that level of peace, harmony, and confidence into leaders, that they realize that I don't have to just work in it. I can work on it. And that's the mission that we're on, is to support leaders in that effort.
And that concept has got to be expressly challenged today.
Yes.
With this environment we're in.
Yeah, because, I mean, look, you got political correctness, you got all of this stuff. Like
it's regulations, what it is.
Man, it's crazy.
Which isn't even some of them aren't even defined.
I don't know if I would survive in corporate today, honestly.
I mean, I've had this conversation
I just don't know.
Oh, man. So I left in 99, Jeff. That's when my end of my corporate was. And when I look back on that, that's 24 years ago as we sit here tonight. I would be such a fish out of water. I mean, if I, to feed my family, of course I'd go do it, but I don't know if I'd have my sea legs there.
I don't think
it's different.
I mean, I'll bend, but I'm not going to break. There is some don't pass go, don't collect 200s for me. And they're coming fast and furious in the corporate and in the business environments. And I don't know. Maybe it was by divine appointment that I got out while the getting was good, because it would be very tough for me. And I never want to come off as like, I'm rebellious and I'm just sticking it to the man. But stand for something or fall for everything.
Yeah, that's a great phrase. Yeah. And you went and did this venture, and then like a year later, the pandemic happened.
2 months later.
You must have been losing your mind, right?
Yeah. Here I am. I'm flying high. Like, I make the big leap. I'm networking. I'm getting some clients. I have some speaking engagements. I'm actually meeting them in their office, and we're doing executive coaching, and life is great. And that was December, January, February, March of 2020. I'm literally 3 months into the run.
Wow.
And I had no clue. I had never been on a virtual call in my life. As crazy as that sounds.
Wow.
Never.
Wow.
I think I did Skype interviews maybe twice.
Yeah, I remember Skype.
But that was it. Never a Zoom. Never saw a bunch of people on a screen ever.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm not a tech guy, Eric, but I'm just thinking like I just took the longest walk off the shortest plank ever. I'm in the deep end. It was a good run.
Yeah, most of the appointments you were on, people were wearing pants.
Oh. It was wild. And everybody's cutting their budget. Nobody wants to spend money, especially on like things they don't have to have, which is what I offer. And it was just like the twilight zone. I couldn't go get a job because everybody was furloughing people and laying off. And
I remember.
The world was coming to an end, right? As we knew it. And so I'm like, well, I don't know, hunker down, and maybe we're going to be killing wild animals soon to make it go. I don't even know. But I'll tell you what I did. As I look back, we talked earlier about serve people.
Yeah,
I literally just started calling companies. I created this keynote speech during that time called The State of Readiness.
Okay.
And it talks about my story, a little bit about what we talked about today. And it takes through the journey of the 3 pillars of what I believe creates success.
Okay.
And I literally just started calling decision makers and saying, this is the talk. This is what you can expect from it. And if there's anything that your team needs right now, they're going to need a level of hope, and they're going to need a level of inspiration. I'm not here to motivate and be a cheerleader, but I want to let them know that we'll come through the other side, and the people that are positioned well are going to thrive when we do. And so I called it the State of Readiness, and I started doing it for free.
Right on.
And I would do it 5, 6, 10 times a week on Zoom calls. And it really helped drive my brand.
Yeah.
Because then people could get a sense of my presence and my heart.
Yeah.
And so I just
goes
did
back
that.
to serving, right?
Yeah. I wasn't going to cry because I wasn't creating invoices. What could I do? What could I do? And I think that's another great lesson. There's a story that this guy, his name is Niccolo Paganini. And whether it's true or not, I don't know. But he was like an 18th century amazing violinist.
Paganini. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm very familiar.
You would?
Very familiar with Paganini.
So-
I tried to play some of those violin parts on guitar, and I wasn't good at it.
So this is great validation for me.
And I think I think there's stories about his very rare violin as well. It lasted all these centuries, and it was sold for millions of dollars. And
yeah, so he's in an opera house or whatever you call him in Italy, and he's world renowned, packed house, and he's playing this piece, and a string breaks on his violin, and then a second string, and then a third string. But he finishes the song, but the crowd's like, there's no way this dude's doing an encore. And with that, the world's best, he would have been within his rights to say, you know what, I'm out, I'm done, it's been a good night, because nobody would expect me to play on one string. But he looks over to the conductor, and they begin. And Paganini plays on one string. Mm-hmm. Paganini, you're saying?
Mm-hmm. You might be right.
I don't even know.
I always thought
he plays on one string, and the place erupts. And here we are, how many hundreds of years later, still talking about that story?
Yep.
And the reason we're talking about that story is because this amazing violinist didn't focus on the 3 broken strings. He focused on the one that he could play. Mm-hmm. And that's what we had to do in the pandemic, and literally that's what we have to do in life. You can focus on the setback, or you can focus on the opportunity. There's always some level of opportunity. And I think that's what we had to learn through that season.
What do you think about the following phrase? Somebody can take the hand you were dealt and win with it.
I believe it's 100% true. Short of catastrophic health type issues that are debilitating. That aside, I believe it's 100% true.
I found that some folks take a negative impression of that statement when they hear it. They take a personal affront to it. Mm-hmm. And it's an interesting observation because it looks, we're ingesting things as humans, right? And it triggers some people.
It sure does. Because it's like, well, who are you? How arrogant are you to tell me that you could win with my hand?
I'm not saying it's me. I'm saying somebody could, right? But even that, mm-hmm. and that's interesting. And that's almost like that shows me that we have a level of defeatist attitudes out there.
There it is. Again, I'm not going to stereotype, or this is a generalization, right? But I will tell you, it's easier to make excuses than it is to win. It just is. It feels better when you put your head on the pillow at night and say, I would have won today, but. Mm-hmm. I would have won today, but my mom overdosed again. I would have won today, but my dad had to have another leg amputated. I would have won today, and look, these are real things, right? And these are real factors, and they could be real setbacks. But we've all heard the saying, you can have excuses or you can have results. And my only caution to the people, I'm not minimizing anybody's problem. I know problems. Mm-hmm. Like my heart bleeds for that. Mm-hmm. But at some point you have to get up and you have to say, I'm going to push through this. My motivation is high enough that I'm going to push through it. I'm going to engage my motivation. I'm going to always continue to get better, as incremental as that is, and I will hold myself accountable. Because at the end of the day, I'm saying somebody is counting on you to win. And these things are really happening. I feel that. I feel you. They are happening. They are real. Mm-hmm. But somebody could take that hand and they could win with it. And why not it be you? Because, and if that is you listening, if I may, there's somebody listening, guaranteed, that they've cried their last tear.
Sure.
They don't even have another one to give. And they may be offended right now hearing this conversation. Mm-hmm. And I just want to take a moment and hear my heart in this. I've been there. I've cried a lot. I've hurt a lot. And what I've learned in this journey, Eric, is there is 100% pain in losing. But if you're going to cry because of the pain, you can take that same energy and take that same endurance of pain and win.
Mm-hmm.
Our drill sergeants taught us this well in basic training. I want you to reach muscle failure every single day of your life, because you can either sweat on this drill floor or you can bleed in the sand of the desert, and both will be painful. And I assume if there's going to be pain, we win, because we're fighting for a bigger purpose. We're fighting for a bigger cause. And if we can get that mentality, then we're not offended by somebody else could win with the hand. Somebody could. Why not me?
Well, I think exactly. And I think that part of the reason why folks get kind of quote unquote offended by that is because they know it's fucking true.
It's true. It's true. And it feels
and they
better.
Gotta admit it.
That's it. And this is that justification.
Uh-huh.
I would have won, but.
Yeah.
I'd be further along, but.
Yeah, and that's not a great way to live.
It's really not.
It's not, and it's very common. And we all have moments. We're all fallible in that regards to some degree, but it's so much better to know that you've lost if you've expended everything you possibly could have done, because the impact of the loss won't be that great, because along that way I'm going to guess that there were little victories and things you pulled out of there. It might have sent you in a different direction, things you learned by trying.
It's so true. And if you have nothing, you don't have much to lose.
Exactly.
So you might as well go all in.
Yeah, and it's so when you're talking to younger people, can you get through to younger folks, or are there just some things, Jeff, that they just got to experience and learn from that experience? It's a really interesting dilemma.
Yeah, I think it is a little bit of both, but my experience now with a 19 and 22-year-old is there are things they have to find out on their own. They do, and that's frustrating as a parent. Yeah. A parent that cares, that wants the best, that has all the answers, right? I mean, just ask us.
Of course we do. Always.
But it's
Every
like you literally have to watch them walk headfirst into a wall. Like you literally have to watch it unfold. And I'll tell you, it's been hard. And back to having an amazing wife that's so patient. And, I'm a driver. I'm tough on my kids, but back to deposits and withdrawals. But it is hard to watch it. But I do think, and if we look back on our own life, like we went through that journey too.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
And but it's harder when you have a different level of wisdom and knowledge and all of that, because your heart is just to fix. I'm a fixer, which is also a fault, because it's like sometimes and here's the question that I've learned to ask myself. Do they need my ears or my mouth? Because I love to run my mouth. Because, I got something to say. I can fix it. Right? And shame on me. It's like, man, Jeff, grow up. Like, they don't need all that. Like, just let them spread their wings a little bit. And back to encouragement, man. If you're a young person listening, fail forward. Yeah, I mean, you're going to fail. And you're going to fail more your first 10 years at whatever you're called to do than you're probably ever going to fail again. But it's in that failure. It's the whole Edison light bulb story, right? Like,
no doubt.
Just win more. You'll end up winning more in the long run, but you got to take some lumps out of the gate.
Yeah, and take them when you're younger and better equipped and physically and mentally to handle it, right?
Yeah.
You would think, anyways. Yeah. Take them early.
Yeah.
And, do you think there is a last question for you. Do you think there is this is a loaded question. My generation, I'm late 50s, there was almost like an order to our lives, high school, college for most of us, entry-level position. There's a level. The web has changed everything. They show the illusion of success and they put it at the front now. So you have a generation of people that are in this Instagram/Facebook world where they're seeing the fruits of the labor thrown to the front. It's really the idea of working towards something and effort and all that is a lot different today. Mm-hmm. Do you think that, where do we go from here? Like, do you think that we will maybe eventually return back to the idea of building something, building a career, building a business, the journey of it all? Or do you think the immediate gratification is where we're going to be and it's going to get worse?
I think it is a house of cards. We see the decline of it. Like, this isn't even an opinion. Like, just go look at the credit card reports. Like, it'll tell you, like, immediate gratification is a thing. Fast success is absolutely a thing. I think it will autocorrect, very similar to the stock market, because pain does teach. And over time, I think that it will autocorrect. I mean, you got all the media coming out, you know, even more instant media like TikTok and quick blurps and YouTube shorts. And so everybody does want that immediate gratification, but you can only fail so many times to when you say, all right, this doesn't work. Mm-hmm. And I will tell you, the hardest thing to do, and this was even for me coming from poverty, being poor. You know, I now, you know, I have a wife, I'm young, 20-something, saving that money early. When you're watching all of your friends buy the nice cars, going on the nice trips, and you're living like you're poor because you're saving. But this is the turtle in the hare. Yeah. And I'll tell you, like, all the things that you heard from, you know, the successful business people on the trends and all, it's not a shtick. Like, success does have foundations.
No question.
And I think we talked about it offline, like some of the things we've read and who has influenced us. These things start to weave together. And so I would tell you, whether you're 22 or 52 and you've done it wrong your whole life, no better time to start doing it right than right now.
No doubt.
And so be willing to go on the journey. And if you find fast success, God bless you.
Yeah.
But that's not the norm. It's just not the norm. Be willing to take the lumps and be humble. You know, I forget the exact saying, but it's like, live poor in your 20s, live rich in your 50s. But so many times it's like, I'm 22 years old. I want the Louis bag. I want the Lamborghini. I want the selfie in Dubai, and all of that. And you can put out there an image. But again, back to success,
right,
and methods.
Right.
You can let the world know you're successful, but it's a house of cards if you don't have methods.
Yep.
And success compounds just like wealth.
That's a good phrase. It's a good phrase to end it, pal.
Yeah.
Did you have a good time?
Man, you have a way of bringing it out of your guests, and
I don't know what I'm doing.
I thoroughly enjoy it because these are things I'm passionate about, and you bring out the passion very much so. And for whoever listened into this, like, I appreciate it and would love the feedback of the listener. But it's an honor to be in this studio. I know you put a lot of effort and a lot of work in putting out this show. Everything you do is excellent, and
thank you.
I'm honored, truly honored to be on it.
Thank you. It's a passion project for sure. I just love talking with interesting people, and you certainly are that. Definitely welcome you back on some panel shows, and we'll talk about that if you're willing.
That'd be great.
I got some very interesting ideas. Now, they can reach you at jeffhancher.com.
Jeffhancher.com.
Right.
I'm easy to find.
Everything
Jeff Hancher, like Jolly
there.
Rancher.
And I would definitely encourage you to check out his video content and the podcast itself, the audio content. It's excellent. I love your presence because you are the real deal in a world right now where there's just a lot of blather and you just really can't tell what you're hearing. Is there validity there? Is it authentic to the person who's saying it? You are the real deal, and I appreciate that, Jeff.
Thanks, brother.
I do.
Appreciate you.
All right, friends, we are out.